Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. Welcome to the Small Business Banter podcast. I'm Michael Kerr, your host, and I'm also the founder of Kerr Capital, where I work day to day with business owners. The Small Business Banter podcast is built just for business owners and will be especially relevant if you're an owner looking to sell, if you've been unexpectedly approached by a potential buyer, or if you're an aspiring owner about to buy a new business. There's a lot on the line personally and financially. It's stressful, it's emotional, and it's usually new territory. So to help, each episode of Small Business Banter is a discussion between me and another business owner or an experienced small business advisor. And we talk about their experiences. So what you'll get is practical, real-life advice, different takes on everyday problems, and a renewed confidence to tackle your own business challenges. Welcome into edition 140 of Small Business Banter podcast. Darren Clark joins me today. Hearty welcome, Darren.
Thanks for having me on.
Darren, I'd like you to kind of give us a little bit of your background in your own words. You're a multiple founder of businesses. You've had experiences exiting or near exiting, and we want to talk about both of those, and the impact on you personally, professionally, financially. But you've had rich experience, through the process of building businesses, as well as helping other owners in your current business, get better prepared to make more money out of and make their businesses more efficient. So, what's the Darren Clark story, just to kick us off?
I suppose I kind of look at business as doing what I love, which is building software. I love building software and being able to build software for other people and help them. Not just me, myself and, but my team. Helping people build software so that it builds them a better business is just, I don't know, it's really enjoyable. I've had one agency that worked on for 13 years with a business partner of mine. Had some experience with startups, building our own startup, back into agency land again, and again doing another startup at the moment. Okay, so we'll come back to that history. What's the business Dazlab as it is today? Let's get a bit of a handle on that. Yeah, so Dazlab is we're a small sort of boutique, bespoke, custom software development house. We primarily, again, just build custom software. We wouldn't look after just entertaining websites that just have content in them. We're talking about really functional systems for B2B, for the B2B market. And
your many or most of your clients are other small businesses, is that?
I would say a lot of ours, the majority of ours, are small businesses. They've found a niche. They've found an industry that they're good at, and they look to create software as a way to help create a new revenue stream for themselves, but also majority of them are also trying to solve a problem that exists in their industry that they already have so much knowledge in. And so, they use digital products and software to effectively create another asset to make their current business bigger. Because
the contrast might be that the way they're solving those problems now is by consulting, giving advice by the hour, and you're saying we can put some infrastructure or some tech or some systems or some processes to make that both maybe more scalable, but also when it comes to the exit of that business, maybe somewhere down the line, there is that asset you referred to rather than just a more intangible set of know-how.
Yeah, and I think because they would, a lot of them have had manual operations for doing whatever, the industry they're in, being able to automate that, not only for themselves, but again, for their colleagues in that industry and for the clients that are in that industry to create automated ways and, again, to create additional revenue streams, either to be a part of the company that they already have or to be a separate company that they can build the value in.
License the IP out, or something along those lines. Yeah.
Majority nowadays, it's monthly software as a service, monthly subscription type of rates. Some are transaction based, but very much recurring revenue. Never really sell it once and then, never sell it again. Yeah.
No, that's good. Like that, this is, and I did in reading some notes and having a discussion with you prior to today. It was very clear that to me that your experience as a founder did inform the way you want to work with the clients you work with now. I think you went through some, like we all do, some challenges and some pain, and then so helping building software. It's about building revenue and about building an asset, but it's also about ideally making life easier. It's never easy, but making it a bit more smoother in your day-to-day operation of a business. And I think that's a great start point to try to help another client, another small business.
Yeah, I think I kind of look at it as refining what you do over your own career. Like my first agency that I had, business partner, we did things in certain ways, and they were the best practices and they were the industry norms, and so that's what you followed. After leaving that and now starting up Dazlab, which there are some similarities there, but when I started Dazlab, I looked and went, what did we do before that I really don't want to do again? And what were the things before that I'd really like to do more of so that we can do it better? Not just for me, for the business, but also for the clients that we help. How can we provide more value in a more efficient way?
Yeah. I think there's a disconnect often. You see lots of offers come in. If you're running a business, you're getting approached all the time, to build new things and outsource this, and but when you can talk to someone about what you do, but also bring to that your experience as a founder, and having those moments of frustration. I think what you do is combine helping someone better run their business with, then selling them some services, or however you build them.
I'd have to agree with that. Like this, when it comes to building any startup or any new product, for instance, there's many different components of that. It's not just I've got an idea, I need to build a piece of software. That's really the first part of it. But then it's how do you plan in for the support, and how do you plan the marketing afterwards, and how do you plan in all of the upgrades? Because we've gone through that a couple of times before, and we go through it with our current clients, it means that we can advise new clients on all of those things. So it's not just advising on the one software build part, but it's about how do you look at making the best efficiencies of hiring the right staff. When do you outsource? When do you hire full-time? All of that kind of thing.
Otherwise, you risk having this theoretically great piece of software that sits out, in isolation from the rest of the day-to-day of the business.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's probably one of the pain points I see a lot, and we've seen it a lot in the past, is that there's a vision of I've built the product, but then where do you go next? And I suppose that's with any business. Just the launching the product or launching the business is one thing. Keeping it running and keeping it expanding and keeping in front of top of mind of your potential customers, that's triple the amount of work.
Yeah, and the energy that you have going into something new when it's fresh and exciting is can often be a lot different to 2, 3, 4 years down the line, where that has waned.
Yeah,
and then you're then you're trying to sustain the business, and that's where I think a lot of it does prompt, and it's good. It prompts some thinking about what do I want to do with my business, and And if you think deep and long about what you want to do with your business, that's a good thing. The outcome might be that you maybe say that I'm out. I want to move on, sell it. Maybe, this is where I think there's a lot of opportunity to help owners just rethink what's possible with their business, and tech and software and is going to be a very significant part of any or of most restructures of a business, if you want to call it that.
You bring up a good point about starting again. So when we sold the agency, I thought that was amazing, and it was amazing. But then the whole starting a new business again, it was tough. Like trying to find a new proposition, trying to find new customers, trying to find a new brand. Like it takes a lot of energy to go through that. I sometimes I think you need to look at is exiting and selling everything a good thing? Is selling half of a good thing? Is restructuring a good thing? Because when you sell a business, you only have the one chance to sell it once. You can't. It's once you're out, and you're starting again from scratch. It's a lot different.
How did that first sale come about? Was there a plan to build an exit, or was it just serendipitous that you were doing something good in the market and somebody approached you? How did it come about?
I don't necessarily think we were looking. We didn't start the business with the idea of looking to have someone buy us out. We were two good friends who started a business and thought we love what we do. But once we got to the 10-year mark, 11-year mark, it became, our lives had changed, everything else had changed. So we did start to look, but also I think we kind of started to look after we already got approached as well. People found out what we did, they liked what we did, they found out this is how we could fit in. We were what we called a full-service digital agency back then, which meant we did software development, we did the digital marketing, we did campaigns, we did all of it. And we eventually went to JWT and WPP, and they looked at us and said, we don't have digital in our team. And so it was a nice fit for us to get into that spot. So we
JWT is a very significant global company too, right? That's a global multinational. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And that was a lovely moment and in some ways it was a lovely moment for them to reach out and say, we'd like to talk about this with you. It was, at that time was a bit of a pat in the back to realize we have done something right here. We have done something well for someone like them to notice.
Well, that's true. But I think, what you're saying earlier is that you may have had a few moments since in starting your second one where you go, maybe, there were other ways to cut, or deal with the first one. Is it? Well,
Yeah. I think in hindsight, you always look back and think, what if I did it this way versus that way? I still think where our company was at the time, the environment for digital agencies was very much changing. Everyone was going niche. Everyone was, if you're a digital marketing, you would be digital marketing, or you're a software house, or you were this, or you're that. We kind of did everything. So in some ways, we would have had to have moved or changed the direction of the business at one point so it fitted the new market that we're in.
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose that's where Dazlab comes in. Like we're able to look at Dazlab and go, oh, I know exactly what we want to do. We just want to do custom software development. Don't want to do the digital marketing. Don't want to do the campaign. Just the software dev. So we could really specialize in what we love.
Yeah. Look, this is the reflections you have and that you are now sharing with other owners is really important because mostly owners will have one business and they may or may not sell it. They may want to sell it and can't, but that's there are serial entrepreneurs who start talk about building to exit, but a lot of others are really one business, one owner businesses, and for them that and at the end of that, there is, there's a pathway to something else. A lot of the time it's into retirement, or it's into, maybe into employment in somewhere else. But, we're not talking about, the majority of people going through the exit experience 5 times over their life. That's why those reflections are so important or valuable to other owners. And I think you also, you referenced it, and sometimes there's a time when you even if it doesn't suit you or the timing's not right, from the market's perspective, what you've got is hot. And so you need, that's another trade-off, that maybe things, if you don't do that, maybe things will get harder.
I think that's why my business partner at the time was, and we looked at it, was that it was going to get harder if we continued to do what we do. But it worked out, it was a good end. I think with the Dazlab stuff that we're doing, I'm not actually looking at, it's funny, I look at the way we set up our accounts and all the lessons that we learned from the exit before. I look at the way I've set up the accounts, and there's so much more structure in there. So that it would be easier if someone did want to come and buy the company. But this isn't one that I want to sell. It's a service business which I'm enjoying working on over time. I don't have a due date if I want to sell or if I want to sell it. But we are working on another startup at the moment that should be launching around April, that definitely would be a product that we are, that has an exit plan before we've even started. Again, because it's a different product. Well, and you're already seeing that as something that could be compartmentalized and sold off, right, without affecting. So that positioning, I do want to ask you about what you learned and what you might do differently. If you had your time over, we don't, but just reflect. But also that the position you're moving much more towards, where the business is well set up. It is better placed if someone did knock on the door. You don't want that to happen, but that's a much stronger position to be in when you feel like the business is saleable, but you don't want to sell because you're living your own philosophy of building in, such the business, you're managing it, and it's, producing a good return, and, they're under no stress or no illusions. I think the difference, so with Dazlab, very much with the agency we sold, we were so much in the business. We were working day to day on all the projects, and one of the things we learned during the sale process was, what would happen if we removed you out of the business? Could it run? And it could. We did have team in there that could run. There was some things that we had to extract ourselves away from, in the months leading up to the sale and shortly after. And I suppose that's one of the learnings with the new business now, is that it's all been set up on the premise that I'm not the one spending 80 hours a week stressing about all the little details. Like, we have brought in processes so that things are repeatable. We've brought in people to work in those processes. So if we did sell, the definite answer to that question would be, yes, of course, you can run it without me, because I don't spend 80 hours a week on it, which is separate to the setting up of the books.
So you're, rainmaking, getting work, steering the ship, and you've got a more of a team below you now to do the components of the work. That's what you mean by
and even the sales process, we're starting to engineer that so that, again, there's only one part of that I'm a part of. So that I'm not, I'm not the roadblock in a lot of ways. The team can start to grow of its own accord without any one person being a roadblock.
I mean, it's probably that, in the sale transition of any small business, most typically the number one challenge to address for the seller and for the buyer is what happens to the business when the seller's not there. And if it doesn't break, then it's more attractive to buyers. But if you follow that line of logic, it's also more attractive for the owner to not sell if they don't need to be wound up in everything day to day. This is where
you're right.
I think the logic is, building to exit is so much of it is about systems and processes, which is what you do. You're helping owners do that, but then the necessity or the pressure to sell is reduced. And I have these discussions often with owners about, well, if you do sell your business, what do you do with your time? But also, can you find a similarly attractive return on whatever you might get out of the business, where you've got a business that is largely or significantly running without you working 80 hours a week, as you said.
Yeah, it's a good question. If you're only spending 5 hours on a business and it's generating good income for you, if you do sell, you've got to start again sometime. Like, even if you're only working 5 hours a week on a business, you're still thinking about it. You're still planning for something to happen, Like, there's always, it's still on your mind, which, as long as it's not an overbearing weight, then it does beg the question, would you sell or would you not? Is it better just to be kept, or do you really want the money? And it depends, I suppose, how old you are. Do you want the money to buy a bigger house, a bigger holiday, a holiday house, or, can you use that money somewhere else for something else that actually outweighs the need of running it every day? Yeah.
And, that's I think a pretty overlooked part of what we might call exit planning is let's gear up the business, make it look attractive, do all these things, but what do you do as the owner afterwards? And there's aside financials aside, it can often be a big void, which is and if you're wired in a particular way, I'd strongly suggest a lot of owners might be better to restructure their business and stay in and have whatever they get from it, as long as it's in within their it works for them, however that's measured, then that's a really positive outcome. But it does it doesn't just come. Sometimes it gets prompted because more and more what happened with you and your partner, inbound inquiry about selling. Oh, this is interesting. That happens more and more, but it doesn't necessarily. Owners still won't deal with that always in the right way. They can get very excited, very emotional. This could be an easy out, but and I think some owners regret it. Others, it then becomes a line in the sand for what and a good place to start to make decisions about what do I want to do and how do I want to run a business.
Yeah, and how to stop the depression if you don't have anything to do after the business.
Well,
because you got all of a sudden you've got time on your hands that you didn't have before without the social contact that you normally have day to day with everyone that you work with.
It is absolutely, and if anybody's listening, it's a real factor to be thought about, discussed. Get the right advice, counsel. I mean, it's hard and lonely enough in a small business, without these are then major decisions that it's good to have external counsel. It's good to have the perspective of other owners, like we're getting that from you today, and there are ways to navigate that opportunity when someone knocks on the door a bit better.
Hi there, it's just a quick interruption to the podcast, and it's a message from Kohab Capital, a supporter of the podcast.
If you're a business owner thinking about selling and you're unsure about what you should do, well, the worst thing you can do is jump straight into an unprepared business sale. Cross your fingers and hope for the best. If you want to take control, get a sense of what your business is really worth and a plan to make it more sellable, then head over onto the Kerr Capital website, check out the value and sellability diagnostic. If it piques your interest, contact me, Michael Kerr, or book one of the free 45-minute diagnostic calls. Now let's head back to the podcast.
One thing that does come to mind about the sale process was ours took, I think ours is 9 months, or, it's quite a long time. And you're mentally thinking of that, all of these things that happen during the exit. I've got to send this piece of paper, I've got to send that piece of paper. What's the final number going to be? Is there going to be earn-out? So how long do I have to stay? You've got all of that. But you forget that you've got to run the business every day. You've got to continue to grow the business every day, because where you don't want to be is in a situation where you haven't been growing the business like the years before, and then the deal becomes much more important for it to happen. And you've kind of put all your eggs in one basket thinking about it. I think that the idea would be to put more weight on just keep on running the business as you would, and try and, more of a 80-20 relationship versus a 20-80 relationship, where the 80 is on still running the business and still giving yourself options, because it's just like the buyer buying you've still got to sell it. And so they might decide the last minute not to buy. You also want to be armed with a great business that maybe is better than when you first started the due diligence. And then you can also make the call and go, well, maybe I find something else for it, whatever it might be.
No, it's very much on the money, Darren. Particularly when the process, when it starts with a call in out of the blue, and you think you can't, and there are buyers dealing with a very large multinational agency like that. They're pretty much professional buyers, right? They buy companies all the time around the place. So they you can get very excited, and sometimes they can make you feel very excited. And it's about, if you don't keep your foot on the accelerator, a few things can happen. The advantage shifts to them in terms of those deals are always subject to due diligence or further analysis, and that's where things get squeezed. Or it just makes it really actually quite challenging for them to buy. So that it is a real trap. But again, to go through that on your own, if you haven't been through a process like that, it's a time to get some advice.
Oh yeah,
I think somebody experienced about, what do I say? How do I play this out? Do I play it out? Do I there's a whole range of questions that should come up.
Yeah, I think we had someone help us out the entire way. There is no way that we could have done it ourselves. I think mentally you're that stressed about triple thinking about everything, that what if I do this, like it was just all consuming. And again, because you don't have the knowledge, you've never been there. I think even if I was there 4 or 5 times, I would still, I'd have to have someone by my side that can think clearly, because obviously I'm not. Yeah. You're thinking this, whatever the sale price is going to affect you, which means instantly you're biased. So in a lot of ways, you have to be removed from that decision-making process and have someone beside you that can help you through it.
Yeah, I want to come back to who that was. Just on today's edition of the Small Business Banter podcast, I'm chatting with Darren Clark from Dazlab, and I didn't mention that you're based up on the Central Coast of New South Wales. Is that right? Just back from the beach up in near Battery. Yeah, fine part of the world. What kind of advisor did you use through that process?
It was a business coach. It was someone that actually they were set up to help companies go through the process of, acquisitions. He had come from an accounting background. He was actually a referral from our accountant. And he also then, it went from that person at the start, and then once the lawyers got involved, our lawyer was very instrumental on being that person that we could, ask. So at first it was more around negotiations, the how, the what, why would it work. But once we got fine-tuning the goal, I think, and then we had an early term sheet, or I can't remember what we called then. And then then the lawyer came in, and he was the one that we worked through, and he was the one that gave us advice and said, they're asking for this. No. They're asking for this. Yeah, it seems okay, but maybe we should just question this. And obviously the accountant was there, at every step along the way as well.
Yeah, but you got, that's three external advisors. I mean, you've got to have, you've always got to have the right kind of legal advisor to interpret the term sheet or the contract, and that's because it can so easily go astray there. And you're trusted accountant, or but then someone who's got experience of fine tuning, dealing with the other party. That's also a role that's vital. Not always suited to the accountant lawyer. You've got to use this team, at the right time in the right way. Yeah.
I think I was lucky because I had a business partner that we both went through it together. So we also became our emotional support for each other, as well as, our partners at home. That emotional support also was kind of vital. So if you're a single, if you're selling the business and you're the sole owner of it, I think for me, I might get a counsellor, a psychologist to work with during the process, because there are just so many things that go through your head during that you need to talk to someone about just to keep yourself clear.
And I imagine there can be a lot of questions as well. Like when your partner, family, friends, everyone's pretty much interested in how if it is public, that how's it going, but it can go up and down so many times. I'm not sure necessarily that unless you've been through it, that you could really get a handle on how topsy-turvy it can be.
I think when you're waiting for an email that's supposed to come through by the end of the day, and you keep looking at your watch going, is 5 o'clock into the day? Is 5:30? Is 6? Is 8? Is 10?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that do. They do your head. You're just constantly on edge, just waiting. Yeah.
Should be done by next Friday. Money in the bank.
That won't happen.
No. Well, and look, it's part of. I think it is. I think for the best of intentions, it's just part of the, it's part of the process that there's this, waxing and waning, and you've got that, and if it's the first time, it's can be so emotionally depleting, and
you're also buying in. We had to make sure that who because once it's sold, we were working for these people, working with or for these people for a certain number of years afterwards. And you had to get to know them, and you had to know that it's right for the relationship post-acquisition.
Yeah, it is another very significant relationship with in a different with a different set of goals and potentially a different culture and different operating systems and a whole lot of things that you're absolutely right that in that, because you can be combative leading into it in a professional way, but then if you are going to be around for a couple of years, you've got to remember that you don't want to kind of fold on significant things. But you got to pick your battles because you're going to be working together, or under their guidance or under their leadership, and that's you don't want to kind of create a real chasm.
Yeah, I suppose some of that shows through when you're doing negotiations. If they're really going to play hardball with you and you're playing hardball with them, you got to think, is that what I want for the next 2 years? Or do I want someone that actually is going to be fair and go, oh, yeah, cool, we'll give that, and you give this, and a bit of give and take. It's maybe, it depends who you are. It's after what you want.
Yeah, it's a couple of episodes back, Earl Eddings came on and we chatted about that and many related things. But he's been through many transfers. He's been on both sides, but he was a very big advocate for getting, as you flagged, support, the right expertise to go negotiate things on your behalf while you continue to run the business, but also you're cognizant of you're going to be working, and he's brought into a lot of people businesses, service businesses. So there were always going to be, or generally going to be, a period of transition or earn out or working together. So you didn't want to go so hard that you couldn't face up on the Monday morning. So look, are we fine?
Yeah.
Battle the crap out of each other for, and there are ways to do that, or to negotiate without, really kind of impacting that, relationship that's going to be there for a couple of years if you're earning out or working.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true.
I just wanted to talk with Dazlab and the work you do. You talked about what you do, but I'm kind of interested just in how you might work with an owner to how you might sell the idea to an owner that what you do is valuable. You've got lots of domain expertise. You've been doing it for a while, but particularly if they had a mind to selling, how you would talk to them about automating or putting in place software, tech, systems, whatever you do to on the basis that it's an investment to ideally make their business easier to run and ideally more profitable. What's the discussion you have with an owner about that?
I suppose we're involved earlier on in the businesses. So we're involved when they're still in the building phase. And for us, it's about them understanding that, this thing that you're putting money into, this software product that you're putting money into, is like putting money into a corporate office or whatever, a building. You're building an asset, and that asset then has a worth. Once it can start to generate revenue, and it will generate revenue by itself, you still have to support it, and you still have to have all these other costs associated with it. And I think it's then about, it's just understanding that when you sell your business, you're selling part of its service now, and part of it's recurring revenue, which is clearly outlined, and being able to divide up how much of the cost takes to run this business versus that one. But again, it's just about building an asset so you can build in additional revenue, which hopefully then helps with the final number that you get. Because, acquisition rates, for a SaaS product are very different than a service product.
Yeah, I think they're off the scale different, aren't they, in terms of what an owner might expect if they were to sell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a huge difference in the two of them.
Can you talk about one case study, like to bring this to, I don't know, you've got a wholesale distribution business out there, or some other kind of service business. What are some of the typical things? Do you go right back to first principles? How do you do business? Almost like a diagnostic of, and then so we can automate this, we can we can.
A lot of our businesses, a lot of the clients come to us with a problem that they've noticed in their industry. That's typically where it starts. It's like, my customers have a problem with doing this. They're doing it manually. They're doing it, slow and whatever else. How can we then automate it? How can we make it smoother? Or in a lot of cases, it's more around information going out. So one client's a mental health client, and his product is about sharing his expertise and his knowledge. So it helps more consumers have a better grip on what mental health is.
So he's a counsellor, psychologist, or
psychologist.
Yeah,
he's a psychologist, and so his product isn't interactions with him. His product is knowledge that he's being able to share out to the world. And so that's, and obviously you sign up, and he's helping businesses look after their staff's mental health.
Yeah.
So for him, it's, that's where the recurring revenue is. It's less about automation to do with his business. It's more to do with, making more money from the information he's got. Other businesses, it really depends. Most of them, they're providing value either through knowledge, or they're providing value through interactions, providing an improved process on something.
Yeah, but they are. It sounds like there's a lot of that. How do I solve a problem type entrepreneurialism?
Yeah.
They're already working with clients, and they're saying, and so the case of that psychologist, it's actually partly his problem as well, because I know a lot of stuff, but I can only do 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. So there's a cap on that unless you can find another way to deliver that information.
Yeah, and another client they were doing, they advise and consult on how to manage a big compliance process. And it was all manual paperwork. And so the platform that we helped establish with them is all around automating that and having it all the compliance documentation and checklists and signing approvals all stored in one digital place, available on mobile, desktop apps. And again, that helps his clients do their compliance job a lot faster.
Yeah.
And so, there's again is a recurring revenue model through monthly subscription by per user increments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is and how in terms of the cost and ease with which you can access development now compared to say 10 years ago, is it?
I think we take a different approach. Like I think my last agency, we hired everyone in Australia. And the problem is the Australian software developer rates have gone up a fair amount. You've got people like Canva who are trying to hire 100 software developers in the one go. You had CBA last year doing the same thing. With those big guys taking out hundreds of developers every week, it's very hard to hire staff, throughout Australia. So with Dazlab, our approach is we instantly look global. So we have no real country of preference. It's about finding the most skilled person that we need, and our process is all remote. We've been built to be remote from the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
So you see a big challenge in recruiting locally, because it's not. I have this discussion often in with businesses, more industrial businesses or manufacturing, and there's a lot of manufacturing has come back significantly from the doom and gloom of 10 or 15 years ago, but and it probably across many industries. Recruiting people and is a major hurdle, and manufacturers going out to get boilermakers and particular trade skills are competing against, in Victoria, the big build. And so they, a trained tradesman person can go off and earn much more money, and so these manufacturing businesses with opportunities, they go begging because they can't get people.
Yeah, and it's so you can either sit and complain about it, or you can we kind of you've got to find a way to get work done for your clients. So for us, that avenue is and look, with COVID, after COVID, everyone wants to work remote anyway. So I'm hiring a software engineer in anywhere is no different than hiring a software engineer nowadays in Australia. Everyone is remote in that industry.
Yeah, in services or the hands-on stuff. It's
hands-on very different though. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. I also we've really covered a lot of grounds, and I think we're making a strong case for really looking at what right now, the exit planning or not, making a case for evaluating ways you can make your business more efficient and more productive and more profitable. And from there, my hope is that more owners do that, and then at some point there might be a trigger that you get approached, and if you're doing a good job and your business is investing in better processes and better tech, in a lot of industries you will be on the radar of a bigger company in your supply chain or in your industry, and it just feeds into a much stronger position that you have if and when you decide you might want to sell, or you might want to entertain a discussion with a potential buyer.
Well, they also come from partners and possible customers as well. They look at what you've got and say, well, why don't you just join in with us?
Yeah. That's absolutely right, and it's a real case for you got to have a plan for what you might say if someone calls. You got to have a plan for when might be ideal for you to move on, and that's different for everybody. Having something to move on to is very important, as we talked about, not having a void. But today it's about how do I get more out of my business today with an investment in. Don't leave it till you start a discussion about selling. Do it now.
Yeah, it is, and it's that, isn't it? It's just the discussion. It's never about. You don't want to do something that you're just not sure of, but you're never going to be sure unless you have that discussion to learn what are the things you could do to make the business more valuable. So when it does come time to sell, that it actually is, there is something more.
Yeah. Just in closing, Darren, I wanted to ask you if you have any particular small business champions or people that you take, you read their blogs, you read their books, anything that has really been a standout for you in
there's a podcast called Startups for the Rest of Us, which I really like. It's the guy that made Drip in the US, which is an email automation platform. He's got 600 podcasts, which are actually really interesting ones to listen to. Otherwise, LinkedIn is my favorite. I find products that I like, and then I find the founders that are very vocal and talk about other things other than just their business. Like Smart Lead is a good one, and the guy from Cake Equity's got some good stuff out there as well.
On employee ownership, is that Cake Equity?
That's right.
But just finding time to actually absorb some external perspective is so important.
Yeah, as you've heard, my dog, he's quite loud, so he needs a walk every day on the beach. So, audiobooks and podcasts are only way that I can consume information. I haven't read a book for quite some time, but I've got 2 young kids and they're busy sports, social lives, and everything else.
Audiobooks and podcasts become, maybe drown out a little bit of the border collie and then educate yourself while you go. Look, it's been. Thank you so much for taking time to share what you've shared today, Darren. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm no doubt it'll resonate with other owners, because it's difficult every day, and there's some gold in there. Thank you for that.
No, thanks for having us on. It was good to chat.
Where's the easiest place for people to make contact with you?
Just go to our website, dazlab.global, DAZLAB.global.
Yeah.
Or you can email me at darren@dazlab.global.
Cool.
Either of those two are good places to reach us.
Yeah.
Or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You just find me under Darren Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, go well. And again, thank you for your time on Small Business Banter podcast.
No, thank you very much.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Small Business Banter, and I hope it was helpful in you getting the most out of your small business ownership. To subscribe or listen back, or to check out any of the resources or information we talked about today, head over to the website smallbusinessbanter.com.au, or if you want, search up Small Business Banter on your favourite podcast player. Don't forget to subscribe, and if it was really helpful, I'd love it if you told another business owner about the podcast. If you thought it was exceptionally helpful, then how about you leave me a 5-star rating? If you think I can help personally, please reach out to me, Michael Kerr, via the website. There's a new episode out every couple of weeks. We'll catch up then.